Yo, what's up guys? You got pokeaim here with some more information, some competitive information for Pokemon Sun and Moon. Now this one's really cool, and it's definitely a buff to Pelipper. In Pokemon Sun and Moon, Pelipper has access to Drizzle. Now, if you're not aware what Drizzle is, basically it's the ability that Kyogre has that summons the rain. Now, this was actually shown by Kphotics. His link will be down below to his Twitter. This is where I found that. But now Pelipper does have access to Drizzle, which means we now have a new weather starter, whether it be in singles or in doubles, that can get up the rain. And this is pretty big for Pelipper. And I want to talk about a few things that differentiate it from, let's say, another weather starter like Politoed, for example. In Black and White, Politoed, rain was everywhere. The thing with Politoed is it could obviously have access to Stab Scald. It had decent speed def, decent HP. Its main way of recovery was Rest. It had access to Perish Song as well as Encore. So Toad had a lot of stuff going for it. These are a few options right here. It can run physically defensive or especially defensive. It was usually physically defensive in Black and White. And though in Sun and Moon, or excuse me, in X and Y, it changed more to specially defensive just based on the nature of things. But the thing that differentiates Pelipper from this is Pelipper has reliable recovery. Now, Rest isn't necessarily not reliable, but you're pretty much useless for 2 turns. Whereas Pelipper has access to Roost. So now we have a weather starter that's different from Politoed and Ninetales. I also want to put Ninetales there because Ninetales was also a weather starter with Drought, and it had access to Pain Split, and that was his main recovery or rest with a Chesto Berry. Now, Pelipper is a Pokemon that has access to Roost. So it's a weather starter with reliable recovery. On top of that, because of Drizzle being rain, it boosts its Stab Scald, and it makes its Hurricane 100% accurate. So not only does it have a boost in its stab move, it can also hit its next stab move. It has great defenses, at least great physical defense. Doesn't have the best HP, but the best thing I think that this thing has, and I think this is the thing that sets it apart from other Pokemon as a weather starter, is that Pelipper has access to U-turn. This is a weather Pokemon that doesn't have to be pulled out on a double switch. This is a Pokemon that can come in and U-turn right out into something to abuse the weather. Like, let's give Kingdra, for example. So, a Pelipper, I don't know why I'm trying to nickname my Politoed Kingdra, but Pelipper could be put on a team with something like Swift Swing Kingdra and immediately be able to go out to Kingdra just by coming out. Pelipper will force switches. Let's say you bring in Pelipper on a Pokemon like Heatran, which Pelipper beats 1v1 with Roost, Scald, etc. Now, Heatran will be forced out, and Pelipper can predict that, go for U-turn, and I don't know, let's say Rotom comes in on Pelipper because it definitely threatens it with electric attacks. Kingdra can just come in and drop Specs Draco Meteors. It can drop a Draco on it. So this is definitely a huge buff for Pelipper and a difference in weather starters because we now have a weather starter with switch advantage built in on it. We never had a weather starter with U-turn or Volt Switch at all. Tyranitar, no. I wish Tyranitar got it. Groudon, no. Kyogre, no. Ninetales, no. Abomasnow, definitely no. That boy can barely walk as it is. Have you seen Mega Abomasnow? So Pelipper now is a very viable weather starter with access to reliable recovery, Stab Scald, which can burn 30% of time, Hurricane, which will hit 100% of the time in the rain and also has a 30% chance to confuse your opponent, as well as the ability to switch. And this is big in not only singles but also in doubles, I feel, because you can get up rain and you can get on out of there. One of the things with Politoed in VGC, I've seen variants of Scarf, I've seen offensive Damp Rock, but definitely having this Pokemon that can set up the rain on its own and get on out of there and get in something safely, especially because Pelipper is very slow. You can make it slow and bulky and tank hits. Typically, you're not OHKOing Pelipper with anything outside of either electric attacks or really strong like max attack invested Stone Edges maybe, because it's definitely taking spread move, rock slides. But Pelipper having access to Drizzle is definitely a buff. This is something that I could see bringing rain, making it even better. In X and Y, rain kind of fell off. Black and White rain was definitely a thing, whether it be rain stall or offensive rain. There were definitely things. Obviously, in Black and White, Kingdra plus Politoed was banned on the single side, not in VGC. But now you have this Pokemon that can not only set up the rain, but get on out of there and give you advantage. Yes, there are some cons to this. Pelipper is weak to Stealth Rock. It takes 25% upon entry. However, Pelipper also has recovery. As I said, it's a Pokemon. It can come in on a lot of things. A lot of things that beat Pelipper, for example, I'm going to say a Pokemon that beat Politoed, but that might not beat Pelipper. That would be maybe Ferrothorn. Ferrothorn could beat Politoed with Power Whips even if it got burnt, but if Pelipper scalds it, it can Roost Stomp, it can Hurricane it, and threaten it with that. Hurricane is a strong move. And Pelipper has base 85 special attack. That's decent. So, or at least something you can work with on a defensive Pokemon. So Pelipper definitely got this buff. I'm really excited to see how this makes a change, or how this affects not only VGC but also singles. The fact that we now have a weather starter that can get on out of there and get its own switch advantage. You don't have to double switch. You don't have to bring it in and just switch out and fear that. So, like I said, in XY, Rain kind of fell off. It occasionally was there with Azelf lead, and you get up Rain, maybe Politoed on the team, Tornadus. But now you have a weather starter that can actually do something. It can bring in other Pokemon on the Switch, and that's so cool for Pelipper as well. So I'm definitely excited to see what Pelipper brings to Sun and Moon. I do want to know your thoughts. You can leave them down below. Of course, you can subscribe for more Pokemon Sun and Moon information, whether it be competitive or the playthrough that's coming out the day the game drops. But hope you guys are excited. I want to know your thoughts, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye, friends.